All right, last week I got to play 90 minutes of Beast of Reincarnation. I did a whole preview and you can check it out. It's about 10 minutes, but while I was there, I was able to capture everything I played. So I thought what I'd do is I'd pull some of the best or most interesting moments from my gameplay session and break them down. Now, normally we would just post this as is and you could watch the gameplay for yourself. Unfortunately, they asked us not to post the gameplay raw. They wanted a bit of narration, so you're stuck with me for a little bit, but we'll try to get some good information out of these bits. Anyway, without further ado, let's get going. So this is essentially how the game starts. Now, there is like a prelude sort of thing where you get a little bit of lore backstory, but this is the first in-game cutscene. And as you can tell, it looks pretty good. One thing I want to note is that when you start the game, you can choose between two modes, standard or cinematic. Cinematic sets the frame rate to 24 frames a second during cutscenes. I opted to just do standard, so this is running at, I believe, 60. I think we had it at uncapped, so it might fluctuate, but I don't have the actual frame rate data. But speaking about cinematic, the main reason why I wanted to show this is because this game is freaking cinematic, right? Game Freak, best known for Pokemon. There's a lot of ways you could describe Pokemon games. Cinematic is not one of them. This is more cinematic than anything they've done before, and there's a cool shot coming up that I think is kind of emblematic of it right here.
このままだと囲まれる。出るしかない。ここで止めて、揺らさないで。了解。移動停止。
And then right here, we've got the walker thing. I forget what it's called. It's called like call it by its name in my preview. This is sort of like your van. And this is how you get around the world. You don't actually get to pilot it, but you return to this thing often. It's kind of like a home base, but also it lets you travel from different parts of the game world. So the way Game Freak has been describing this game is that it is a road trip, essentially. You, Emma, and Ku are basically traveling across Japan. It takes place, I think, like 1,000 or 2,000 years in the future. As you can tell, everything is destroyed and overgrown. And as Emma, you need to destroy these creatures. They're called like Malefics, and they roam the wild. They seem to be overtaken by some sort of growth. Okay, so this is the first open area you get to explore. These areas, I wouldn't say are narrow, but there is a direct path through them in order to get to the next story beat.
So, わかった。
These are checkpoints, quite literally a campfire. Not a bonfire, a campfire. When you interact, I think it resets the enemies and you can do your normal stuff like level up, acquire skills, and it's quite literally a skill tree. All right, we're going to move on though. You can tell by listening to the music too, it's very Nier Automata inspired. All right, first bit of combat. So when your sword glows like that, it means you did a parry. And you could see that little yellow bar under their health kind of fill. Just like Sekiro, when that maxes out, they stagger, and you can follow up with a killing blow.
Violet. Emma, 話が聞けるものを探そう。わかった。
Another thing to point out is that there's a lot of verticality in this game. This is something that kind of surprised me. I know in the trailers you could see her doing this, but I didn't expect you'd be able to do this right out of the gate and go as high as you can. But it seems like, you know, some of these buildings you might see in the background, you might be able to scale them. I didn't have time to try it myself, but given how much height you get off that jump, kind of makes sense.
お前はどこから来たの?
All right, so this is post-apocalyptic. It seems like for the most part, the only things still alive are these golems. I have to imagine these golems were man-made. Maybe they destroyed humanity, something like that, because the interactions I've seen between golems and Emma, they don't seem to like Emma that much. And what they're talking about is a nushi. Now, I looked that up in Japanese. I believe that means like head of household, master. These nushis are sort of the bosses of the area, at least for this area, that seems to be true. You are hunting a big creature throughout it. Also, as you can tell, I'm playing in Japanese. English will be available at launch. They recommended I play Japanese. So we're going to pause here. The reason why I wanted to include this is because it kind of shows how the affinities work in this game. So there are different affinities. What we're looking at here are the affinities tied to Ku's moves. Now, once you press the Y button or the triangle button, depending on what controller you're playing on, you slow down time, essentially freeze it, and then you can pick from these different moves that Ku has. They also come with different affinity. So the one we're on right now, this bloom, it deals high destructive damage. So these enemies with the shield, their shield is weak to destructive damage. So we're going to choose that. Destroys the shield, immediately staggers it, and then I jump in for the kill. One thing they were saying when I was checking this out is that they said that this is hard, but it's not as hard as Souls-likes. And a big reason for that is it gives you a lot of options, Ku being one of it.
Ku, 何かありそう? Ku. Ku, 敵だ. Ku, 敵がいる.
So one thing I did notice is that just because you see the button prompt doesn't mean you'll activate it. I think you need to be pointing almost directly at it in order to activate it. This was like the only thing I died against. He's got like a skull over his head. I don't think I was a high enough level for him when I fought him, but I think I put up a decent fight. But it seems like these sort of enemies are existing outside of the main path, you know. Kind of typical, right? Like there's a tougher enemy. If you want to put in the work to level up or really understand his patterns, you can take him on, defeat him, and he'll likely have a treasure. And as you can see, Ku's kind of got a mind of its own. Even if I'm not commanding it, Ku is putting down pressure, attacking. But as you can see in the bottom right corner, that's sort of its Ku's action points or whatever. And those specific call-out attacks you do, use some of that. And every time you successfully parry, Ku gets stamina back. So I included this because if you noticed, I actually didn't start at the campfire when I died. I started at a checkpoint, and I believe that checkpoint was set after I talked to that golem in this shack, which is kind of interesting. In Souls game Sekiro, it puts you back at that bonfire, and this, it seems like there's natural checkpoints throughout it. Okay, so we are continuing on the main path again. This is Emma's hair. Basically, if you hold R, you can extend this out and you can use it to cross gaps. Once again, there's a lot of traversal mechanics. We're going to take a look at, well, I hit the wrong button, but we're going to take a look at some skill trees here. So first we're going to level up attributes. So if you've played a Souls game, this should look pretty familiar. Big difference is that there's only 3 main attributes: strength, vitality, fluorescence. So by upgrading these, they improve different stats as you'd expect. Vitality improves HP, strength improves attack, defense. I actually don't think I leveled up fluorescence at all, but I have to imagine it's like skill power in critical rate, because skill power is like special moves you can get. And it looks like you get an attribute point for each time you level up. And then we have the skill tree. So the way the skill tree works is that in order to access specific skills, you need to improve your attributes. As you can tell there, it said required attributes 7. Tracking shot requires 7 fluorescence. Don't have that, just can't do it. But I think we're going to do Entanglement Overdrive, which increases the duration of your time slowdown skill. So on top of Emma's skills, Ku also has his own skill tree and attributes. I don't level him up in these sections of gameplay. Okay, so I'm following the main story. So this is sort of like a dungeon, I would say. So right, we're exploring the overworld, and we are in Subcity number 1, which to me tells me that there are multiple subcities like this you'll be able to explore. And we're going to skip ahead a little because I did some more leveling up here. So my goal essentially for this was to destroy all of the machines here. And there we go. I whiffed the aerial attack, but that's okay. Like I said, the Cleanse Walker, that's the name of the vehicle at the beginning that I forgot the name of. That's sort of your base of operations, and those things seem to improve it. I don't know how. I didn't get to really do that, but I know inside the Cleanse Walker you can like upgrade weapons, level up, I think even upgrade your gear. It was not pretty, but hey, he's dead. There also is a crouch. However, it doesn't give you the tutorial for that until after you beat the first boss. So I just didn't even try crouching. I was like, well, I'm just gonna parry everything. So before I can enter, of course, there is another golem. This one is a little tougher. Got a much bigger health bar, and it has a skull. It's not as red as the other enemy, but it's still red, as you can see. Not doing quite as much damage. That's the only moment I did some juggling. I'm not really sure how I did it. It seemed like Ku knocked him in the air, and then I was able to immediately jump to them and start attacking. All right, here's another golem. We're gonna skip through this. So at the end of this, you can see it's holding a bow. This is where Emma gets a bow. So before I was firing this little hand crossbow thing. So it seems like there are multiple different ranged weapons. Neat. All right, so to wrap this up, we are going to fight the Nishu boss at the very end, or at least what I presume is the end of the area. As I said in my preview, I managed to one-shot this thing, which according to the people running the demo, they were saying that no one had done that yet, but they probably say it to everyone. Yeah, so as you can see, I am doing a lot of parrying, and as I parry, the stagger bar below the boss's health is increasing. And using this ability to slow down time to get extra attacks on it. It felt really good, honestly. I love Sekiro. That's one thing I talked about in my preview. Sekiro is an all-timer for sure. I still consistently boot it up. But as you can see, once I filled that stagger bar, it tumbles. So there's not a immediate one-shot kill after that. I can just go up and attack it. There we go, stagger again. I was kind of hoping since its health would be low, there'd be a finisher, but there isn't, so I had Ku finish him off. I got to see a little bit of story stuff after that, but that's pretty much where the demo ended. Anyway, if you enjoyed that, make sure to subscribe to GameSpot, and if you haven't seen my Beast of Reincarnation preview yet, we'll link it here so you can check that out. The game comes out August 3rd, and I'm really excited. I enjoyed my time quite a bit. I was pleasantly surprised with everything I saw and played.